related definitely to brain health, unfortunately, and it has nothing to do that they're stupid. It's just that you're right, they're not eating, they're not eating as well. They have to. The first McDonald's was in San Bernardino.
Was it really?
Yeah. We went to the museum there, the McDonald's museum.
They have a McDonald's museum.
Yeah.
Do they have all the Ronald McDonald's from the beginning to the end?
Everything, yeah. So they've been really good about keeping fast food out of Loma Linda for.
But isn't there giant concerns even with large-scale agriculture? When you're talking about monocrops and growing things for 15 billion people, you're going to need gigantic swaths of land. It's going to displace a lot of wildlife. You're going to have a lot of different chemicals that get released into the ground unless you're doing regenerative farming, in which case you're going to have to use some animal products anyway because you have compost and fertilizer. You need fish for fertilizer or something that creates nitrogen. There's a lot of issues even with large-scale agriculture when you're growing crops. You're doing something that's wholly unnatural. If you have 1,000 acres of corn or soybeans or anything that you're growing in large scale, that's not how nature intends it. Nature intends everything to be combined together.
Right, but if you look at the amount of crops that are out there, most land is being used to grow crops to feed animals. So
Well, sort of. A lot of it's being used to feed animals. A lot of it's being used for corn syrup and a lot of different.
And we can
corn
agree on that. Get rid of it. Yeah,
I mean, you've seen King Corn, right? The documentary. That's pretty fucking crazy when they check your DNA and they find out how much of your DNA is corn based, and you're like, what? Like, what is going on? Or how much of your cellular structure is corn based? It's like, how much corn is in your diet? And then you go through the supermarket and go and pick up box after box and read how much corn is in there. Corn starch, corn syrup, different proteins that they've extracted from corn.
Well, let me ask you, how do you think if we have to feed 10, 15 billion people in the future, how do you think?
Real question.
We should be feeding the population?
That's a good question. It's a very good question. I have hope for this this fake meat shit. Not the plant-based stuff where they're using oils but the actual physical meat, that they can figure out some way to create meat without animals die. Like I am not a fan of factory farming. It's the reason why I got into hunting in the first place. I saw a lot of those PETA documentaries, and I just didn't want to have any part of any of that shit. And I know there are ethical ranchers that raise their animals grass-fed and they let them roam. And there's a guy named Joel Salatin who has this thing called Polyface Farms, where he teaches people regenerative farming methods and teaches people how to let animals be animals, and is the polar opposite of factory farming. When you see these, and I'm sure you've seen some of these disgusting videos of these pig farms where they have lakes of sewage attached to these farms, where these pigs are in these warehouses stacked in one on top of the other, and then all their waste goes down through the floor and into these giant, huge lakes of shit and piss.
And then they spray it on the crops.
Well, I don't know if they spray that on the crops, but it leaks into the ground.
Yeah.
They spray the pig and shit on the
crop. Oh, yeah.
Well, look, all that stuff is wrong. I mean, all of it's wrong. I mean, whether chickens, raising chickens like that, or cows like that, or pigs like that. And there's a reason why they have these ag-gag laws. And those are another thing that are akin, in my eyes, to the same thing that the way we feel about dolphins in captivity in a place like SeaWorld. Those ag-gag laws, agricultural gag laws, they keep people from divulging the horrors of these factory farms. And there's got to be a way to stop those laws. First of all, these places should be transparent. If there's something they do that's abhorrent, there's something they do, you could see the lives of these animals when they're treated in these horrific ways. It's not necessary. It's just they're doing that for profit, and this is why you can get a chicken sandwich for $1.99 or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, I mean, if the saying of slaughterhouses had glass walls.
Yes, right. Yeah. Yeah.
But going back to it though, I mean, so how do you? So lab meat, you think would be the?
I think lab meat has real potential. The same way cell phones used to cost, $1,000. Well, what more than that? Like what was like one of those big Motorola bricks? Remember those things that Gordon Gekko had on Wall Street? They were really expensive. Like when he was walking down the beach with that thing, like, wow, that guy's a